I grew up in a household with a very strong cultural setting. We spoke Gujarati, we ate a meal that consisted of vegetables that needed to be bought at a specialty store, and we ate with our hands. We spent weekends with friends and at places that shared our culture, doing activities that elucidated my understanding of what it meant to be Indian and from India. I'm Supal, and I was born in the United States of America to immigrant parents from India, and I am a second generation Indian American.
Show mommy the.
Wow. Inevitably, I got to travel to India since I still have family there. We traveled a lot and to places that many people would never even imagine traveling to. And still, I desperately tried to Americanize myself at school. Without a doubt, I was that typical Indian girl, the one who did everything and excelled at it. I did speech and debate and science fair, on one hand, making it to nationals and international, and on the other hand, I trained in Indian classical dancing. I was living two worlds and was desperately hiding one from the other. One of the things that helped me define myself as an Indian was spending my time getting to know the historical roots of Indian religion and mythology through dance. I was a student of Bharatanatyam for 8 years, a classical dance form that originated in the Hindu temples of Tamil Nadu, dating back to the 2nd century CE. I wish I could say that I still dance today, but instead, I'll cherish this incredible experience my parents sacrificed for.
Hello. So basically, what I've got going on is tepla. So essentially, when I was a child, I remember my mom used to make these like right off the stove, and I didn't like them. So like my grandfather used to eat them with butter, just lightly salted butter or whipped butter with a little bit of sugar on top, which is probably really bad for you. But I, instead of eating the teplas, would eat butter, like eat just the butter, and that's really about it. So hence why I'm very healthy. So essentially these are teplas. They are just like kind of like tortilla, but they're the way my mom makes them is with buckwheat flour, and they're just actually they're buckwheat flour, and they have like a bunch of herbs. So my mom grows in the backyard a bunch of herbs like coriander, dill, parsley, mint, and all that sort of stuff. Fenugreek leaves that Indian people, we call it methi. It's like kind of a bitter herb, and it's really good with like paired with different citrus. So with this, like she just makes the dough with water, as well as like a little bit of ghee, so it's clarified butter. Very healthy actually, compared to how teplas are naturally made, which is just like wheat flour and a few herbs. But this also has cumin, like whole grain cumin, and all that sort of stuff. I now like always ask to take some back. So my mom made me 100 teplas on the way back, for the way back. And she puts them in these little stacks of 10. And so I can just take 10 out at a time. And so what she essentially does is I just can put it in the microwave for 10 seconds. And it kind of reminds me of home. Even like right now, if you could smell it, it smells like this is what home smells like.
Food. You've read it on my blog, but it was the easiest way for my parents to explain our culture to my brother and I. The aromas of mustard and cumin seeds popping in hot oil and the sound of a pressure cooker always reminds me of my childhood time spent both at home in America and at my grandparents' house in India. Food is what brought us all together at the dinner table, and I don't remember a single day my family and I didn't sit down together to share a hot meal consisting of dishes uniquely from Gujarat.
So with the Éclairs that I was telling you about, instead of having it with butter like my grandfather would, I actually make it with raita, cucumber raita, because that's something else that so it's the very first thing my mom taught me how to make. When I was younger, my responsibilities were to set the table, and basically clean up the table after that. And then once I became a master of setting tables and cleaning up the table, she started making me make the raita. So whenever we had something like dal or even just actually something like thepla as well, we would do a yogurt-based dip on the side, because it helps kind of break up like the spice. It brings a little bit of freshness to the extreme like earthiness and the heat of like what we put in some of our dishes. So I think I'm going to teach you guys how to make I'm sure you all already know, but just like a very simple cucumber raita that we make at home. So you first take really nice yogurt. What's really good is that if your yogurt is a little bit too tangy for you, it's perfectly fine, just because the cucumber helps kind of break it up and brings a little bit of freshness. So I'm just gonna do maybe like 2.5 sort of tablespoons. And then you take cucumber. You could just chop it up really fine, but I prefer actually to shred it, just because I think it's really good with the texture. So with the yogurt. And then be very careful. I remember this as a young child. One of my first injuries in the kitchen was from a grater. And then, can you smell this? I brought this from India. It is cumin. So it's ground cumin. I like to just take the back end of a spoon and do a big hefty bit of it, maybe a hefty bit and a half. Cumin is so good for you. It's a dish that really brings a bit of that woody flavor to any sort of like Indian dish. It's something that we put in everything. I feel like this is like the essence of like true Indian food. And then the last part, you just add a bit of good salt. And then you stir and you serve.
It took 20-something years and a move across to another country for me to truly appreciate my heritage. Coming to the UK, I felt forced to identify with being American, which inevitably distanced me from identifying with everything I grew up with. My personal values are shaped by my cultural upbringing, and I can't even explain how wonderful my parents were in raising 2 children with such a rich cultural backbone in a Western world. It is definitely something I will one day pass on to my children.